Have you ever been in a conversation, maybe with your partner, someone you really care about, and you're trying to offer, some gentle feedback, and suddenly they just shut down? Or even worse, maybe they accuse you of trying to damage their personality. It's just bewildering, isn't it?
It really is.
Or maybe, you've been on the other side, in a heated moment, feeling hurt or criticized, and it's like your brain hits a delete button on all the good memories, all the good times.
Yeah.
Like the appreciation they had for you just vanishes.
It feels like it just evaporates.
Exactly. Well, today we're taking a deep dive into exactly those kinds of challenging, but really human interactions. Our sources today, they explore sensitive egos, fragile self-esteem,
Right.
and they really shed light on why these powerful reactions happen, and crucially, how we can navigate them in a healthier way to foster understanding, strengthen bonds.
That's the goal.
Our mission today is really to equip you with the insights, the strategies to better understand and move through these tricky waters. Whether you're giving feedback, receiving it, or just trying to understand that shifting emotional landscape, maybe in a close relationship.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is that what can seem like a really extreme reaction, or even illogical, it's often a deeply ingrained psychological pattern. It's not usually a personal failing,
Right.
We're going to unpack the inner workings behind these intense responses today. Hopefully offer a clearer lens on how our emotions can just hijack our perception or memory.
Yeah.
Especially when someone feels like their self-worth is under threat.
Okay, so let's start with that first one you painted, that damaged personality reaction. What is actually going on when someone who might even seem humble otherwise reacts so intensely to perceived shortcomings, fearing this damage? It's tough, especially when you're trying to be constructive with someone you love.
It is tough.
Yeah.
And what you're describing, it's far more common than people might think. It's really important to understand. It's rarely a full-blown mental disorder. It's more often a pervasive psychological pattern.
Okay.
And it's rooted in how someone sees themselves, their self-image, their self-esteem. Even if they seem humble outwardly, their inner sense of worth can be incredibly fragile.
So it's like a disconnect between the outside and the inside.
Sort of. And when feedback comes along, even gentle feedback, it doesn't land as just information about an action.
Right.
It gets felt, experienced as a direct threat to their identity, to who they are.
Wow. So their mind is basically like putting up shields, a defense mechanism.
Precisely, yeah. Their mind triggers this powerful protective response. It leads to thoughts like, this is going to damage my personality. It's the brain's frantic attempt to shield them from shame, embarrassment, that awful feeling of inadequacy. And this is where we often see certain cognitive distortions pop up.
Cognitive distortions. Okay, can you break that down a bit? It sounds like there's a specific, maybe slightly warped internal logic happening.
There often is. A really common one is personalization. That's where they take every suggestion, every piece of feedback as a direct personal attack on their whole self, not just on one thing they did.
Okay, got it.
Another one is catastrophizing. This is when they genuinely believe that one single comment, one criticism could literally damage their whole personality. So the reaction feels huge, disproportionate.
Right, because the perceived stakes are so high for them.
Exactly. And then there's all or nothing thinking, black and white thinking. They see themselves as either entirely good or entirely bad. There's no middle ground, no room for, I'm a good person who has normal flaws and areas to grow, like everyone else.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so knowing all that, what's the best way for us to approach someone who reacts like this? How do we get feedback heard without causing that deep distress? Especially, in a partnership where you need to communicate openly.
Yeah, that's the key question.
Yeah.
The critical shift is towards being really gentle, specific, and supportive. You have to consistently focus on growth and behavior, not identity.
Okay.
So first, always affirm first. Think of it like a sandwich, but maybe strength, feedback, strength.
Ah, the feedback sandwich.
Kind of, but focus on genuine strengths. Start with something positive, something real.
Yeah.
You could say to your partner, you're usually so thoughtful and considerate. Do you gently bring in the feedback? Maybe in this specific situation, you could try X instead.
Okay.
And then this is crucial, and with reassurance. I know you'll handle it well because I've seen you adapt beautifully to things before. See how that frames it? It puts the feedback inside ongoing appreciation.
Yeah, I can really see how that just changes the whole feeling of it. It feels like support, not an attack. What else?
You also want to frame it as growth, not flaw. Use language that points towards development, getting better. Instead of saying you lack this skill, try something like, this will make you even better at handling X, or if you incorporate this, you'll be even more effective when Y happens. Our sources had a great example. Instead of, you don't listen properly, which just sounds like a judgment, right?
Totally.
If you pause just a little more before responding, I think people will feel even more heard by you. It's about enhancing skills, not pointing out a deficit.
That tiny shift in language feels huge, especially in a close relationship, like with a partner.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah.
And it's also really helpful to normalize shortcomings. Remind them gently that everyone has blind spots. We all do.
Right.
You can even share a quick, maybe anonymized example of your own. Takes the feeling of being singled out away. Like, I sometimes get caught up in the details too, and I have to remind myself to zoom out. Something that helps me is it creates that sense of shared humanity.
I like that. Makes it less isolating.
Definitely. And further to that, focus on behavior, not personality. Stress-specific, observable actions, not who they are. So, in that meeting, you interrupted maybe once or twice. That's specific behavior.
Okay.
Versus you're just an interrupting person, which feels like a direct hit on their personality. That's what you got to avoid.
Right. And how do we make sure they still feel, empowered, not just told what's wrong?
That's critical, yes. Give choice and autonomy. Instead of commanding, like, you should do this, or you need to stop that, try phrasing it as a question or suggestion. What do you think if you tried? Or have you considered maybe? This keeps their sense of agency intact. It lets them participate in finding the solution instead of feeling controlled. It respects their autonomy, makes them way more likely to actually internalize it.
Okay, so we've covered how we can approach others, but what if you're listening and you recognize these patterns in yourself, that feeling of, oh no, my personality is being damaged by this feedback? How do you start working on that inside?
Well, that's self-awareness. That's the absolute crucial first step. If you recognize this in yourself, the foundation is self-compassion. Really practicing it. Actively reminding yourself, making mistakes doesn't erase my worth. It's about detaching your core identity from a single action or someone's comment.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It takes practice. Second, consciously work to reframe feedback.
Yeah.
See it as information, pure data, not as a judgment on who you are deep down. Think of it like data points for growth, not a critique of your soul.
Data points. I like that framing.
And finally, mindfulness can be incredibly powerful here. Just noticing that ego threat reaction starting to bubble up before it takes over. That pause gives you space to choose a different, healthier response. So to kind of wrap up this section, the core issue is really that ego sensitivity combined with fragile self-esteem. And the best tactic, whether you're giving feedback to your partner, a friend, a colleague, is always gentle, specific, supportive feedback. Focus on growth, focus on behavior, not identity.
That gives us such a clear, really actionable way to think about those tricky feedback moments, especially with the people closest to us. Okay, now let's pivot slightly, because that situation often seems to go hand in hand with another really perplexing dynamic. What happens when someone, maybe in that moment of hurt or criticism, seems to just drop off all the good memories, all the appreciation? It's like their brain does hit a delete button on all the positive stuff you've shared. And that is a really painful experience, isn't it? Especially if you feel your partner quickly diminishes all the good that came before. It can make you really suffer.
It absolutely is painful, and it's incredibly confusing and frustrating for both people involved. The main psychological reason behind this memory block is that their current emotional state overrides their ability to access memories.
Okay.
Think of your amygdala as like your brain's emotional alarm bell.
Right, the fight or flight thing.
Exactly. When that alarm bell rings really loudly because you feel threatened, criticized, maybe just emotionally low, it actually dampens the activity in another crucial part of your brain, the hippocampus.
And the hippocampus is?
That's more like your memory filing and retrieval system. So it's not that the good memories are gone, it's just that the loud emotional alarm makes it incredibly hard to get to them in that moment. The positive memories, the appreciation, they just feel distant or irrelevant right then.
So they don't actually forget the good stuff, they just can't access it. Like a temporary emotional firewall blocks the retrieval.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it, a temporary blockage. And this whole thing is often made worse by that all or nothing thinking we talked about earlier.
How does that play in here?
Well, their mind might unconsciously lead to, if you're criticizing me now, maybe you never really appreciated me genuinely in the past. It's an illogical jump, but it feels real. It effectively cancels out past kindness in their current perception because their brain struggles to hold both the current negative feeling and the past positive memories at the same time.
That's such a powerful and kind of heartbreaking internal narrative, especially when you think about partnerships and how it can make people really suffer, feeling like the past is just erased.
It really is. And another factor here can be conditional self-worth. If someone's self-esteem heavily depends on external approval, I'm okay because you approve of me,
Right.
then they don't really store affirmations as stable inner confidence. The moment that external approval feels withdrawn or threatened, their whole sense of worth can just collapse. And all that earlier praise feels meaningless, deleted. And finally, don't forget the basic negativity bias. We are all kind of wired to remember negative things more vividly. It helped our ancestors survive,
Yeah,
right?
danger sticks out.
Exactly. But in people with more sensitive personalities or fragile self-esteem, this bias can be much, much stronger. A single criticism can easily overshadow months, even years of praise and positive connection. It leads directly to that feeling of quickly diminished memories of all the good stuff.
Okay, so given all these complex internal workings, how do we handle these moments? Both when we see it in others, maybe our partner, and if we recognize it in ourselves. How do we ensure appreciation isn't just forgotten, especially in a relationship where that consistent feeling of being valued is so vital?
Right. When you're dealing with someone, particularly a partner who seems to be dropping off those good memories when they're hurt, it's crucial to actively remind them of the continuity of appreciation.
How you do that?
When they're feeling low or criticized, calmly but firmly, remind them of specific past positive qualities or shared good experiences. You could say something like, honey, I know you might not feel it right now, but I've always appreciated the way you listened so patiently. Remember that time we... It helps re-anchor their memory. It can gently bypass that emotional filter.
That's a really practical tool, like gently nudging their brain back towards the positive filing cabinet it couldn't find.
It really is just like that.
Yeah.
You also need to explicitly separate the criticism from the care. Be crystal clear that one point of feedback or one argument doesn't erase your overall love and value for them.
So saying it outright?
Yes, say something direct like, look, this point I mentioned, it's small. It's about this one situation. It absolutely doesn't erase how much I value your kindness, your humor, our whole connection. They often desperately need that reassurance that one critique does not equal total rejection. Now, for the person experiencing this memory block themselves, helping them internalize appreciation is key. Proactively.
How can they do that?
One really effective way is to encourage them to actually write down compliments or achievements. Keep a little good memories journal or a wins list.
Like a gratitude journal, but maybe broader.
Exactly. When they feel low, physically revisiting those written entries can actually train their brain not to drop positive memories so easily. It creates a tangible anchor, something accessible that doesn't depend on their fluctuating emotional state.
That's a powerful, concrete tool. How quickly might someone see results if they started doing that? Journaling the positives.
Well, it varies, of course. But consistent practice, it can start showing results over weeks and months. It's literally, gradually rewiring neural pathways to make accessing positive memories easier, even when stressed.
Okay.
And finally, encourage emotional regulation. For both partners, really.
Yeah.
Teach or practice grounding techniques together. Simple things. Slow, deep breathing, taking a short walk to cool off, agreeing on a pause button before reacting. These things calm the amygdala, that alarm bell. And when the alarm is quieter, the hippocampus, the memory center, comes back online. Positive memories become accessible again. So in essence, when someone feels emotionally dry or triggered, their brain automatically overvalues the criticism and undervalues the appreciation. It's not that they truly forget the good times, it's more that their intense emotional filter blocks access to those positive memories. We see this often in people with sensitive egos, maybe insecure attachment patterns or self-esteem that's really tied up in what others think.
Right.
You can think of it like that simplified brain circuit. The amygdala gets triggered, sends super strong signals to a negative filter, which then effectively blocks the positive memory bank. It overshadows the hippocampus. And that's how people end up suffering from those quickly diminished memories of connection and appreciation.
Wow. That brain circuit visual really helps connect all the dots. Okay, so we've journeyed through understanding why constructive feedback can feel like a full-on identity attack, especially for a partner, and why positive memories can just seem to evaporate when emotions run high. What's so insightful, I think, is seeing these as common psychological patterns, not character flaws.
Exactly.
And crucially, we've explored some really practical, empathetic strategies for navigating these patterns, especially within our most important relationships.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture for a second, recognizing these patterns, both in ourselves and in the people we love, it isn't just about having smoother conversations, is it?
No, it feels much bigger.
It's about fostering deeper empathy. It's about building resilience in our relationships. And ultimately, it's about ensuring that genuine connection and growth can still happen, can even thrive, even in those really vulnerable moments, those moments of potential conflict. It directly addresses that pain, that suffering you mentioned, when it feels like your partner quickly diminishes all the good that's there.
Absolutely. So as you go about your day, maybe you're thinking about feedback you need to give someone close to you, or maybe you're reflecting on feedback you've received. Ask yourself, how can I apply some of these strategies, not just to make my interactions more effective, but maybe to help cultivate that healthy circuit for accessing appreciation for yourself and for others, regardless of the emotional state, especially with those you care about most.